This is a recording for Pre-Calculus, Chapter 6, Section 6, number 17. And just a brief review, we've got our law of sines, which we have this. But remember, we can manipulate this equation. And if I wanted to use this equation to solve for side A, well, then I would just multiply both sides by sine of angle A. And now I've got an equation. So this is just manipulating the law of sines. Similarly, I can have the law of sines written where I have the sines over the sides. So I've got this equation, and if I want to solve for angle A, well, I would multiply both sides by side A, so I'd have this A sine B over B. But I still have this as sine of A, and I want it to be A all by itself, so we take the inverse of sine of both sides. So it's important to realize how you can manipulate the law of sines. So now, let's look at problem number 17. You're given two sides and an angle that's not included. So this is where I would say I'm going to use the law of sines. And I notice that side B is what is opposite angle B. So that's the one I'm comparing. So I'm looking at that and I say, oh, but B is less than C. That's where I have to start looking at this test. C times sine of B over B to see if it is less than, equal to, or greater than 1. So I notice that when I put that in, the numbers, I put in the 162 and the 40 degrees and the 125, put it in my calculator, making sure it's in degree mode. I find out that I get a number that is less than 1, which means we're going to have two triangles. So I set this up to find triangle 1. So there's my three angles and my three sides, my angles and my sides. I put in that chart the information that's been given, the 40 degrees, the 125, and the 162 for side lengths. The first thing we're going to find is angle C, and the reason we're looking for this is because we've got the side C, so I know that this is the angle I'm going to look for. So I'm going to use law of sines to find angle C, and I find that it's 56.41. So plug that in there. Next thing I'm going to do, since I have two angles, I can come up with a third angle by using the triangle sum theorem and just subtracting the two I know from 180, and I get 83.59 degrees. So I put that in. And the last thing we have to solve for is this side A. So we're going to use our law of sines to solve for a side, and I have this equation here that we talked about briefly in the beginning, and I plug in the information that I now know, put it in my calculator, and I find that the side A is 193.25. So that is the first triangle. Remember, there's two triangles. So I've got the information for the first triangle. For the second triangle, I start off with the same given information, the same three pieces of given information. Now remember, this was the first angle that I used the law of sines for. So this time, for C prime, I'm going to take the supplement of C. So I'm going to subtract C from 180, and we get 123.59, and that's the degrees for angle C prime. Again, the same thing as I did before. I'm going to use a triangle sum theorem to find A prime, and I find that it's 16.41, a nice tiny little angle, but that's respectable anyway. And now I'm going to find the side A, again using law of sines, plugging in the information I know, and when I put it in my calculator, I get 54.94, and so those are the two triangles for problem number 17.